So we're going to go to the next level, supercharged here today. This is a unique episode. We've got Dr. Rob Garcia on here today, and I was randomly called today by Dr. Robert Garcia after he found me on Twitter, and he's promoting his book and his new magazine called Shift. Okay? I'm really excited because we have a lot more in common, and we're going to probably bring this out in the episode here today. But first, I want to introduce Dr. Robert Garcia. Say hello, Doctor.
How are we doing, Dennis? Good to see you.
Good. So this is pretty cool. I mean, we haven't had a chance much to talk before this because I don't usually talk to people too much before my episodes. I like to learn during them, which is kind of crazy, but I do. And we've got him here today, and he's throwing all these books at me and all this knowledge. And he's a life coach. He's doing all these great things, and we have so much in common that we're probably gonna have like a 5-hour lunch after this. But he's on my show here today. He totally just came up within 5 minutes notice. We threw the microphone on him, and here he is. So why don't you tell everybody about all these great things you're doing, and then we'll start the episode.
Thanks, Dennis. To start with, I'm Dr. Rob Garcia. I'm the CEO of Blue Dragon Enterprises, which is a life coaching company here in sunny San Diego. I just launched a life coaching magazine called Shift Advanced Life Design. I'm an Air Force reservist and an 8-time author.
Wow. All right, guys, you heard it. Magazines, doctor, life coach, military. He's done a lot already. So he's an accomplished human being. And we love to have accomplished human beings on the 5-Minute Bark who inspire us. And I think he's got a lot of things he's going to inspire you with here today. But first off, I want to talk about this magazine because that's really kind of where I fit in a lot. I have a lot of life coach friends, and I know you've gotten into it. Why life coaching?
It just became a natural progression because, like a lot of life coaches, we go off of our childhood experiences and things that our struggles in life. And so as I started going through this stuff and helping people, I realized that I needed a platform, a bigger way to make an impact on people and to make their lives better. So a magazine was the next natural progression, just like you're doing podcasts.
Yep. Awesome. And the life coaching, how did that come about? Did somebody come up and say, hey, can you give me some advice? Can I hire you as a consultant? Or
I've always been kind of a speed reader, so I just read a lot of books and I had a lot of information to draw upon. I'm kind of a logical thinker. I think the Air Force really beat that into me, just making good decisions. And so enough people came up to me to the point where I realized I should probably be charging for this because I'm pretty much fixing people's lives.
Right. That's awesome. Awesome. And all these books, they're written, starting out with your first book. Why don't you explain more of why that book came across? I know you started out in the skateboarding industry with your company there, and then you decided to just write a book. Yeah,
I was a skateboarder for 23 years. I still dabble sometimes, and I wanted to write a book. I started teaching high school at the same time, and I wanted to write a book to really appeal to teenagers with a slight skateboarding emphasis, but more an emphasis on teen life and the things that they're going through with their families. So I transitioned from a skateboard company into a life coaching company, and then Teen Juggernaut was my first real book that I wrote. It got me on the news.
Teen Juggernaut. And what's the book about? Tell everybody. Come on.
Basically, it talks about my childhood, how I grew up in a family of drugs and convicts and just being really poor, and how skateboarding was kind of my outlet. And so I talk about how teens can deal with their own family situations, and then why math is important, how they can be a better student, go to college for free, how to set goals, and how to get good paying jobs. And
just out of the blue, just like said, I've come into success, and I just want to share it with kids.
Pretty much. And I took it one step above. I actually took Teen Juggernaut and another book I wrote called Utopia. I took the best information I've compiled in 10 years of this, and I put them free on my website at bluedragonent.com. So anyone can get this regardless of income level.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I just did a speech over in San Diego here at a Monarch school. And I don't know if you know about me, but I used to do over 10,000 school assemblies teaching kids about staying drug-free, staying healthy, and motivating themselves on success. And me personally, I could only do about 180 a year, but I had all these people working for me. And I had retired and sold my company in 2013. And I was asked to do a speech recently here in San Diego, and it rekindled that connection to kids. Right now, you and I are probably trying to get a market of, older people and talk to them. But when you go back to the kids level, it's like, wow, that they take it in, they really absorb it. Whereas talking to older people or trying to get them to absorb it, they're so busy, right? But the kids are right there in front of you and you can actually communicate with them. So I'm sure your book is well received in that format, because if they can get their hands on it, that they're going to actually take the time to read it.
Yeah, I think so. The feedback from the teenagers has been really good. And my focus these days has been more charter schools, believe it or not, because they're the teens that really need the help. Maybe they've had an issue at a mainstream high school. And one of my books, Charter X, actually dealt with how to educate charter school kids and help them get further in their careers.
That's awesome. And you got 8 books, you said now?
Yes, my last one was my 8th one, proud to say.
And how long does it take you to write a book?
Utopia was written in 6 hours.
6 hours, all that right there. Well, I need to talk to you after this. I love this. I love this. So now we're graduating on to creating a magazine for life coaches. So kind of like so they can share, they can get ideas, right, in this magazine. Why for them?
Because life coaching is such a subjective industry. There's no real college for it. There's just certifications. And so many people, they get into life coaching, but they don't really have a lot of direction. Mm-hmm. And that it's a natural progression. To be a coach, you really have to have, it's a growing experience. It's one of those things like a really long apprenticeship, I find out. So the magazine was, I've done a 70-30 split on the magazine for content where 70% is general articles about making people's lives better and the quality of life. 30% is specifically resources for life coaches, how to do pricing, how to find customers, how to expand the brand, how to get your website going, but stuff that's specific for anyone in the coaching industry, regardless of niche. And
what are the main struggles they're having is, I understand, is charging, what to charge. Because a lot of what life coaches do is just day-to-day information we get from friends and family, and now we're considering it as a professional tool, because like in other sports, I talk about this over and over again. Even Tiger Woods, one of the first, is you have coaches for pretty much everything. Coaches for the mind, coaches for your golf swing, coaches for your workouts, coaches for all these different things. And this life coach thing is a new thing. It's been out for a while, but people are more embracing it now. They understand that I need help thinking outside the box, or getting outside my comfort zone is not that easy by myself. And I could use a push. And so these life coaches are certainly helping these people. But one of the big things about life coaches is, like you said, it's an ongoing experience. And again, I'm finding this out because I talk to a lot of them, but it's also getting, what am I going to say on this? Getting to the comfort zone themselves to be able to charge the right amount of money.
Such a good point, Dennis, especially because pricing is so subjective. And I actually made a list and a guide of how to select your pricing. And some of the factors I looked at were your education, your media exposure, your the value you provide your customers, if what people are saying about you and your testimonials, how effective was it really? These are all the things that you use. And then the level of effort that it takes to create a project or to create a plan for somebody. Because if somebody needs 6 months of coaching, obviously it's a lot different than a one and done for somebody that just needs general advice. And the advice I give coaches all the time is to create a one-time fee and then an ongoing monthly fee so that they can delineate their services.
Yeah. And with that, this certifications that go on, of course, in life coaching, but it's really finding that person you can connect right back and forth with and just resonate and trust. I guess trust comes in there truly. I know I found that in, because again, so many people are like, oh, this person's a life coach. Oh, this person's a life coach. I think that's great. I think that's great that there's so many of these people out there that are life coaches, because we're not all going to use the same one. And as you just saw in that video, they can get burnt out if they're doing 10 calls a day, right? So you need many of them out there that can kind of influence each other and different people and different ways of life and so on and so forth. So tell us more about some of the upcoming guests you're going to have on the show, because I really like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the
magazine. Sorry,
interview subjects. The next magazine, I can't reveal who it is, but I can tell you what he's done.
Okay.
A very high-profile special ops guy who was in SEAL Team 6, and he fought in the Battle of Mogadishu. We just finished the interview with him. That's going to be in the next issue of Shift magazine, and then afterwards, the issue after that, we're going to have a very famous entrepreneurial 4-time author and bestseller, and we're super excited to have him.
Awesome. And what are you looking for when you have people, maybe somebody out there in the audience might be interested in being on your magazine or being part of it in some sort of way?
Absolutely. We handpick everyone that's a contributor to the magazine. So what we really look for is someone that's either in a very unique niche or someone that's an influencer. So if they've got a Facebook group of their own coaching Facebook group and it's got 500 members, or if they do some type of unusual service that's very, very specific or rare, that's really the person we want to showcase. For example, my friend Chris Ripka he's running his own podcast, and he was a U.S. Army vet, and he started a podcast to help veterans, him and Eddie. And so I got them together. They're both doing podcasts, and Eddie helps vets transitioning out of service. So they've got their own little life coach niche. That's
awesome. I have a friend who works with a lot of veterans. She's a life coach, Billy Allen. I'm not sure if you know her or not, but she's been working with veterans quite a bit, doing different programs. And you talked about inspiring people before we started the show. I mean, you're obviously inspired yourself, and your goal is to inspire more people. Can you talk more about that?
Yes. My goal pretty much is to teach people that there really aren't any limits. The only limits we have are the ones we set in our own minds. And you alluded to something interesting. You do have to conquer yourself before you can get out there and be a life coach. You have to get over your own mental blocks, your own limiting beliefs, the things that we bring from our childhoods or our relationships, in order to move forward. And so basically the main message that I try and give people is, if I can do it, anyone can. I literally left home at 18 with nothing. I slept on the floor. At 19, moved to Phoenix. I couldn't afford meat.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. I've been poor, and I'm talking really poor, about 4 times in my life. And so I understand what it's like to not have a lot of confidence in myself and my life situation. And once I joined the Air Force, I was able to eat chicken. That's all I really wanted to do. And it really was that simplistic. But once I had that structure and that discipline, I was able to move forward.
Right. I also am finding out that people like yourselves who come from the bottom rise to the top faster than most, because if you're coming from middle class, where you've been in a comfort zone, so to speak, your whole life, you don't know what the bottom's like. You can dabble with the bottom and get kind of near the bottom, and then your family or something will bow you out. But if you haven't hit rock bottom, they always say hitting rock bottom changes everything, right? And the only way is up. I mean, if you're going to the bottom there, you're near death or near suicide or whatever. So if you're not near there, but so many people that have gone through complete life experiences of I would say crazy nature, war, coming over from a different country, escaping their country, coming out of the ghetto like yourself, all these different things. I've seen so many of these people success more than others. I mean, if you listen to some of my podcasts, many of these people are from that nature. They've just come from the bottom and they've just shut themselves up, and they have no fear because they've already been through it all, right? And I think for us out there, like myself, a middle class person, I've never really had those experiences. Sure, I have bounced off the bottom pretty close, but not even, I ate rice, I slept on the floor, I've done all that, but I always knew I had something I could go back to. I could go back to Boston and live with my parents, or go live with a friend or whatever. But people like yourselves, you don't have other options. You have to dig yourself out of it and climb out. And one of the things you talked about was education in mathematics and so on and so forth. Why mathematics?
Mathematics is the cornerstone of technical careers, which in turn leads to high-paying jobs. I've had a very strange relationship with mathematics because I did so poorly in high school, because I didn't see any relevance. I didn't understand what I was doing. And I'm sure you can relate as a professional BMXer, because at that age in your life, 14, 15, like all I was doing was skateboarding. And I didn't realize that skateboarding involves physics. It involves trigonometry, the metric system, like all this cool stuff, because I didn't have any teachers that really imparted that real life connection to it. And that's what when I talk in high schools, I try and tell the teachers firsthand, if you're going to teach math to these kids, you need to show them the real world application of why they're learning it, and show something cool that they'll really be into, like a UAV or a import race car, or, movie production, something that's interesting that they can do, that's hands-on, that is stimulating and enjoyable to practice. And that motivates them to learn math a lot faster.
I did websites. I still do websites. And I did this one website for a art company, and they basically sell art curriculums for schools, and they need a testimonial. And I'm like, okay, well, I can get some young kids and they can be on screen and they get testimonial. Then I thought about myself, and kind of like you're talking here with mathematics, I was always in the art when I was younger. I drew pictures, I painted, I created graphics for my own companies. As you can see here, those are all created mainly by me. And where did I get this creativity from, right? I got it from my art teacher in school. And it all starts with like the trigger. And that trigger became now a podcaster, even though it's not drawing, but it's creativity in a new way. So I love how you're saying that if you put something in front of them and show them, well, this is really cool and you really enjoy driving this and you really enjoy designing this, but it requires mathematics and it helps people learn.
There was a defining moment in my, I want to say my mid 30s where I read the one book that completely explained everything about the way that I learned. It's funny you talk about creativity because so many people in extreme sports, BMXers, skaters, rollerbladers, they a lot of them are very good musicians and artists, and they have this wild creative streak. And I read a book by this guy Sternberg, who is at Yale, and he's a neuroscientist, and he's just an amazing guy. But basically, he said that there are 3 types of learning styles, and there's practical, which is like street smarts. There's analytical, which are the people that are like engineers, doctors, lawyers that are super good at math but can only find one solution to a problem. Then creatives. And the creatives are the ones that can think of 20 ways to fix something. The creatives are the ones that are creating things like podcasts, websites, skateboards, writing books. And I realized, hey, I'm a creative, and that's the direction I need to go because that's my aptitude. And so once I read, I want to say it was Successful Intelligence, it changed the game, and it made me realize that I wasn't stupid because I failed out of high school. I was stupid. Well, I wasn't stupid. I had an alternative learning style, and it changed just eyes wide.
That's true. And that's a good point. Alternative learning style. Yeah. We are tend to told you have to learn this way. And now we're finding out that there's different ways to learn, different reasons and different understandings of why to learn. I mean, I was awful in school, but I was also a professional athlete in school. So I was obviously talented, yet not at education. I loved history. And if I could put my focus on math and put it on that, sure, I could get the great grades, but I was like you. And I was like, I'm in passion. I'm in love with riding this bike. I'm in love with sports. I'm in love with it pushed me, but nobody told me, right? Nobody told me how those apply to bike riding. Those apply, like if I was told at a young age, listen, if you become a great bike rider, right? You just understand you're going to have to be speaking on a microphone in front of hundreds of people, right? Then I would have the reason to learn how to speak, learn how to write, learn how to read. Nobody told me that, right? And it's funny this is all coming full circle right now because I'm literally fighting to learn how to read right now. I'm fighting to learn how to speak again. But if that understanding was brought to me at a young age when I was passionate about being something someday, then I probably would have learned all the necessary things I need to learn back then.
Right. You would have had a passionate interest in chemistry if you'd just wanted to know how a bike frame's made. Right. Learning the aluminum frames and the composition.
We talked about the metals all the time. Yeah. I want 413 chromoly handlebars. I want, 1610, whatever it was. I forgot now. Aluminum. I wanted,
You'd have that periodic table right there, Dennis.
We literally did. We would. Yeah. We would to the point where we would take some of our parts. I was stupid. We would take our parts and we'd put them in my dad's oven, and we thought we were heat treating them. Yeah, we thought we could all heat treat our own stuff. Little do we know it was melting. But yeah, I mean, you're right.
Why aren't they teaching that? Why aren't they showing real world applications for these things instead of just throwing kids textbooks and making them do dumb stuff like Common Core that have no real world application whatsoever? I don't get this, and this is what I want to change.
Think about it, guests, listeners. Think about if there's something that your child is passionate about or you are passionate about, and how much education does apply to that, right? And I'm just coming to this realization right here, right now in this podcast. So if I would have known more about metals, maybe my parents had realized I was putting my parts in the oven and trying to heat them.
You're being a scientist.
Yeah. Here I am being a scientist, knowing that. But wow, what a difference that would have made to today and now, So pay attention to what your kids or your friends or you're passionate about and apply it to the education. I mean, a lot of you are doing that out there already, but it really kind of see it. Like if your kid's into big wheels, we'll show them how a big wheel can go faster, or how it can go slower, or how it can slide and why it's sliding. And if they're into video games and how those things are designed, and show them some code or
coding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's very important, especially if parents notice that their children have a special aptitude of something they love doing, that they support and nurture that aptitude regardless of what it is. Parents don't always agree with what their kids are leaning towards, which is unfortunate. My family was medium supportive of the skateboarding, but they could have definitely done more.
Yeah. Well, they didn't know better, of course. And now that's another thing too, is we're coming into this learning stage. We're coming into Google. We're coming into, you can learn or do anything or fix anything now because of the internet. I mean, I literally had a TV that broke on me, and I found all I needed, a $4 transitioner. I took the thing apart, put the thing in there, and it worked. It was like magic. But if I would have brought it to a TV repair guy, it would have costed $500. So we're learning.
Exactly. And that's why I moved forward. And my 8th book was actually a book on speed learning, because we are at this age where we can teach ourselves anything. Mm-hmm. And we have the ability to be immense synthesizers of information. We can we have access to all the recorded information and technology and history. All you got to do is do the proper Google search, So exactly. We're getting smarter if we're using it properly.
Yeah. And take advantage of it. I'm telling you right now, a lot of people just do not want to go and Google things. I guess I don't understand the power of it, but you can Google anything. You can get any knowledge that a lawyer can get in front of him, in front of you. You can get any knowledge of a sickness or how to speak better, or how to do a podcast, or anything for free. Anything. How to build a car, how to repair an engine. My friend just fixed his car the other day, and he found how to repair the motor in his window and did it by himself on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find tutorials on anything, and that's some of the techniques I discuss. You can look up YouTube videos. You can Wikipedia something. You can look up the best books on the subject. Maybe find a high-level subject matter expert. And one thing I'm really pushing lately, I just spoke at Origin Coding Academy downtown San Diego, and I was teaching these intense software developers how they can develop the mental toughness to learn this coding 8 hours a day. And so I taught them about diagramming. Diagramming is huge, because it doesn't even have to be super fancy, just boxes and lines, but you're creating a system and you're creating a process and a timeline. So these are all ways that people can learn stuff way, way faster, like Tim Ferriss.
Yes, I learn that lesson all the time. Diagram things out before you go and doing. Being that I'm an entrepreneur, I just want to, okay, I got an idea, let's get going and do it. And I leave the planning part out. And it's definitely been something that set back a lot of ideas that I've had. I've had some great ideas, but I didn't plan it out to see where it would go, how it would happen, how it would process out. And it bites you. So,
what I noticed about you, Dennis, is that in our 2-hour friendship is that you're an executor. You're the execution guy, like jump on it. But yeah, you have to plan things out. And yes. I've learned this firsthand. Yeah. Executing is great in some ways, but it's detrimental in others. So we're already at the end of the time here today. And I want to thank you so much for seeking me out, for one, to being on the show. This is amazing. And I'm sure we'll talk forever after this. But let's promote the magazine and tell everybody who it's for and why they should learn more about it, and why they should read it, why they should be participating in it. This is your chance to talk about it. Thanks, Dennis. Yeah, I want everyone to check out my magazine, Shift Advanced Life Design. It is geared towards advanced life concepts to help you live a better life, get in better shape, make more money. It can be found at bluedragonent.com. And you just click on the Shift link, and it's free to read. It's a digital format. And if you want, contact us. And if you have a unique story idea, or if you want to be a guest writer, I'll review it and I'll put you in there and give you some fame. Awesome. Thank you for reaching out again. This is awesome. And again, you know how to reach Dr. Robert Garcia here today. I'm really working on my name and enunciation. That's one of my goals for 2016. Is my enunciation of people's names, because I grew up in Boston and all of our names were Maine, Rob, John. So thank you for coming on the show here today. And everyone out there listening, again, I totally appreciate everything you do to listen to my podcast. I know sometimes it's a pain if you don't have an iPhone, you just don't have it coming up. But if you are listening right now on Facebook and you're just clicking the link, this is available on iTunes. If you go to your iPhone,
I'm going to say this because nobody knows. On your iPhone is a purple icon called the podcast icon. If you go on there, there's a little search magnifier on there. And you click on that and type in 5 Minute Bark Podcast, and you can subscribe to it for free. And you can listen to this podcast and many more on there. So that's it for today, everybody. One critical thing highly successful people do is organize their goals and write them down. Success doesn't just happen to you, it's created by you. If you are ready to create a roadmap to greater success, you may want to listen to what I'm about to say. We have developed an online success platform that offers 6 critical tools for creating and implementing your success plan. If you're ready to turbocharge your personal development and success in every area of your life, it's time for you to join Team Cody Dog by visiting CodyDog.com. That's CODIEDOG.com.